Welcome back to DYN Channel 2 News. Hello everyone, I'm Bruce Banner, and we have a developing story on the United States and the Soviet Union, whom have agreed on 5 articles of peace known as SORT, which stands for Strategic Offensive Reductions Treaty. Now let's send it back to Peter Parker for more information.
Yes, thank you, Bruce. It all started at the end of World War II, when President Harry Truman of the United States had issued the Truman Doctrine to fund democracy in third world nations, and this greatly angered the Soviet Union, which would then start a Cold War that would last from 1947 to 1991. The Cold War was a race of technology between the United States and the Soviet Union, where the science behind weapons of mass destruction were pushed to the limits. Back to you, Bruce.
When the White House publicly announced that the Soviet Union had indeed exploded their own atomic weapon, known as Joe 1, on September 23, 1949, discussions surrounding the proposal to build up the super bomb immediately intensified. The Soviet Union's nuclear test shocked the world and created significant tensions among them and the U.S.
The hydrogen bomb was a weapon first developed by the United States in 1951, trying to compete with Russia after they received the atomic bomb in 1949. The concept of the hydrogen bomb uses fusion, a technology that is way more powerful than splitting a uranium atom used in the atomic bomb during World War II. To put it in perspective, the hydrogen bomb, also known as the thermonuclear bomb, was 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bombs that were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during the Second World War. Here's a look back at the first test of the hydrogen bomb.
You have a grandstand seat here to one of the most momentous events in the history of science. In less than a minute, you will see the most powerful explosion ever witnessed by human eyes. The blast will come out of the horizon just about there. And this is the significance of the moment. This is the first full-scale test of a hydrogen device. If the reaction goes, we're in the thermonuclear era. For the sake of all of us, and for the sake of our country, I know that you join me in wishing this expedition well.
It is now 30 seconds to zero time. Put on goggles or turn away. Do not remove goggles or face burst until 10 seconds after the first light.
Minus 15 seconds. Minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, T0.
Arms race is caused by brinkmanship. It was the idea to go to the brink or edge of war. The nuclear arms race is a competition in nuclear warfare, and it required a reliable source of nuclear weapons and airplanes to deliver them. So the U.S. strengthened the Air Force and began producing stockpiles of nuclear weapons. This caused the Soviet Union to respond with their own military force, and it marked the beginning of the arms race that would go on for 4 decades.
A turning point during the war was during the late 1960s, when the United States learned that the Soviet Union had embarked upon a massive intercontinental ballistic buildup, designed to reach parity with the United States. In January 1967, President Lyndon Baines Johnson announced that the Soviet Union had begun to construct a limited anti-ballistic missile defense system around Moscow. The development of the ABM system would allow one side to launch the first strike and then prevent the other one from retaliating by shooting down incoming missiles. In 1967, a strategic arm limitations talk was called for, and on May 26, 1972, President Richard Nixon and Soviet General Secretary Leonid Brezhnev signed the ABM Treaty, an interim SALT agreement, in Moscow. For the first time during the Cold War, the United States and Soviet Union had agreed to limit the number of nuclear missiles in their arsenals. Let's send it off to Clark Kent for more depth information about President Nixon's decision on triangular diplomacy.
In August 1957, the Soviets announced the deployment of a rocket that can travel great distances, an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, Sputnik. On October 4th, the Soviets used an ICBM to push Sputnik, the first unnamed satellite above the Earth's atmosphere. Americans felt they had fallen behind in science and technology. As a result, the government poured more money into science education. In 1958, the United States launched its own satellite. President Richard Nixon tried triangular diplomacy by reaching out to the Soviet Union and China, primarily Vietnam, making him the first U.S. president to visit Moscow. He thought it would calm the major powers of the world. In doing so, he was hoping that it could expedite tons of United States troops, and he did. This action is known as détente. He and Brezhnev signed 7 agreements covering the prevention of accidental military clashes, arms control, as recommended by the recent Strategic Arms Limitation talks, cooperative research in a variety of areas, including space exploration and expanded commerce.
Special interview where I'll be sitting down with Richard Nixon. Alright, first question. What is your plan to relieve tension with the Soviet Union, or do you want to go to war? How do you see our relations with them in the future?
As you know, I am an anti-communist, but I plan to ease tensions with the Soviet Union and its communist companions.
Second question. What do you plan to do about our troops overseas?
I plan to play the 2 strongest communist powers, Russia and China, against each other, creating a balance in the world powers. I have created the area of détente, where tensions are relaxed, giving us a better position to bring our troops home.
Question for you. What do you plan to do about the space?
Not necessary to win the Cold War, but to manage it. Harry Kissinger and I want to improve our relations with China and Russia. That concludes our broadcasting for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this very special developing story from DYN Channel 2 News. I'm Bruce Banner. Have a good night.